He told me never to open the door. I wish I had listened. My name's Jason. I'm 32. Married. No kids. I work in IT and live in a small town near Minneapolis. Quiet life, mostly. Or at least it used to be. I'm not the kind of guy who shares feelings, let alone trauma. But lately, I've been waking up drenched in sweat, hearing things that aren't there. My therapist says talking helps. So, here goes. This is the story of the summer I found out who my father really was, and why I haven't spoken to my family since. I grew up thinking my dad, Walter, was just a gruff, strict old school type. Military background, the whole my house, my rules kind of guy. He wasn't warm, but he wasn't evil. At least, that's what I believed. After he passed away last year, Mom told me to come clean out the house. She moved in with my sister. The house was falling apart, mold in the basement, raccoons in the attic. But it was the only place I still associated with home. One evening, I was in the garage sorting through his tools when I found an old brass key tape underneath the workbench. No tie, no label. Just a key. I didn't think much of it until the next day when I tried opening the closet in the basement. One of those creepy narrow closets built under the stairs. Always locked. Dad used to flip if I even touched the handle as a kid. I figured it was just storage, maybe old guns or military junk. The key fit. When I pulled the door open, I swear the air changed. It smelled like something sour and metallic. The closet wasn't deep, maybe 5 feet across, but the floor had been cut open. There was a hatch. Metal. Had locked from the inside. Who the hell locked something from the inside? I stared at it for a long time. That's when I noticed the carvings on the hatch door. Tiny letters, scratched in with something sharp. A name. Mine. Jason. Not once. Dozens of times. I slammed the door shut and went upstairs, heart pounding like a drumline in my skull. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I convinced myself I was overreacting. That maybe I'd seen it wrong. But then the phone rang. Unknown number. Male voice. Come. Don't go back in there, Jason. He built that room for a reason. Click. I stared at my phone for a long time, my thumb hovering over retail even though there was no number listed. I didn't recognize the voice. It wasn't my dad's, obviously, and it wasn't anyone I knew. Calm, steady, like someone reading from a script. I tried to shake it off. Told myself it was probably a prank. Maybe a neighbour saw me snooping around and decided to mess with me. But when I went back to the basement later that day, something was off. I mean, more than before. The air was colder. The hatch wasn't just shut, it was locked again. From the inside. I hadn't told anyone about it. Not my wife. Not my mom. No one could have locked it. Unless someone was in there. I backed out of the closet and bolted. Spent the night at a motel. I didn't even go back for my toothbrush. Next morning, I bought a crowbar and a flashlight. I wasn't thinking straight, I just knew I needed to see what was down there. I broke the lock. The hatch creaked open, revealing a short, steep set of wooden steps leading into what looked like a concrete cellar. But here's the thing, our house didn't have a cellar. We lived on solid rock. The walls were covered in yellowed newspaper clippings. Every square inch. Hundreds of them. I stepped down. The flashlight flickered, which I took as a bad sign, but I kept going. The floor was dirt. Damp, with a faint smell of bleach. In the centre, there was a mattress. Stained. Torn. A pair of rusted handcuffs bolted into the floor nearby. And then I saw the photos. Dozens of them, clipped to a clothesline stretched along the ceiling. All of me. As a kid. Sleeping. Playing. Riding my bike. All taken from outside the house. Through windows. I started hyperventilating. My dad took these. There was no other explanation. Then I saw one that didn't make sense. It was me now. Taken from outside my apartment building. Just a few months ago. He'd been watching me. Even after I moved out. The flashlight dimmed again. I was about to turn and run when I heard the trapdoor above creak. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. And then the sound of the padlock clicking shut. I froze. That sound of the metallic snap of the padlock sucked the air out of my lungs. My body just stopped working. I couldn't even move my feet. It was pitch dark except for the faint flicker of the dying flashlight. I aimed it toward the stairs and shouted, "Who's there?" My voice cracked like I was 15 again. No answer. Just silence. Then footsteps again, fading. Slow. Unhurried. Like they knew I wasn't going anywhere. I scrambled up the stairs 2 at a time, slammed into the trapdoor. Locked. I shoved, kicked, screamed. Nothing. Whoever was up there, if there was anyone, was gone now. Eventually the flashlight gave out. I was trapped underground, in the dark, surrounded by photos of myself I didn't remember anyone taking. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped my phone twice trying to call 911. No signal. Of course. I don't know how long I was down there. Time stopped meaning anything. I was just curled up in a corner, breathing shallowly, the smell of mold and bleach burning my nose. Eventually, I heard a noise above me again. The lock. Click. The hatch creaked open. I backed away as light flooded the room. It was my mother. She didn't look surprised. She looked tired. We just stared at each other for a few seconds. I finally said, "You knew." She didn't answer. She stepped down the stairs slowly, careful not to look at the mattress or the handcuffs. She walked straight to one of the photo strings and pulled down a picture. It was me at age 4, in a Superman costume. I remembered that day. I thought my mom had taken that picture. She looked at it for a long time, then finally said, "I thought he stopped after you turned 12. I made him promise." "Are you talking about?" I whispered. My throat felt like it was tearing open. She looked at me with these dead, grey eyes. "I didn't know he kept coming back. I didn't know until I saw him outside my window last year." "What do you mean? He was dead last year?" She just nodded slowly. I think that's when it really started. I didn't understand. I just stood there, shaking, waiting for her to explain. "What do you mean it started after he died?" I said. My voice was high-panicked. She didn't answer right away. She walked over to the mattress, looked at it like it was an old friend she'd outgrown, then finally sat down on it. Like that was a normal thing to do. "I used to think your father was sick," she said. "Like, mentally ill, some trauma from the army? Maybe, but it wasn't that. He wasn't broken, he was designed this way." I felt cold. Not just the air, but under my skin. "What the hell are you talking about?" She rubbed her hands together. "He was part of a program, back in the 70s. I only found out because I read some letters he kept hidden in his gun safe. They weren't from a woman, they were from the government." My heart was pounding again. They trained them to surveil, to infiltrate, but not enemy territory, domestic targets, neighbours, civilians. They'd assign them a family, teach them how to blend, like snakes with smiles. I stared at her, willing her to stop. But something happened with him. He went dark, stopped sending reports, started doing his own thing, watching people he wasn't assigned to, watching you. That's when I realized what she was really saying. "You're telling me he wasn't actually my dad?" She flinched just slightly. "I don't know, that's the truth. After you were born, he changed. Grew obsessed, possessive. He said you were too pure for the world, that if he didn't keep eyes on you, something would break you." I staggered back, hit the wall. Photos swayed above my head like little nooses. "I wanted to leave," she said, voice cracking. "So many times, but every time I packed our bags, he'd know. He always knew. It was like he had someone watching me, too." She finally looked me in the eyes. "But you need to know there's something worse. Worse than being raised by a fake father who stalked me my whole life." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. Yellowed. Thick. Sealed. On the front was one word in black ink. Activation. "I found this in his safety deposit box," she whispered. "That has your name on it." I stared at the envelope. "Jason," she said, "you weren't just the target. I didn't take the envelope at first. I just stared at it like it was radioactive. Something about that word activation made me feel like I was going to throw up." "What do you mean I wasn't just the target?" I asked, my voice low, flat. She held it out to me, hands trembling. "Open it, you have to." I wanted to run, to burn the thing, to crawl out of that basement and pretend none of it ever happened. But I took the envelope. I tore it open. Inside, a single sheet of paper, a worn cassette tape, and a Polaroid photo. The paper had typed instructions. All caps. "Begin tape, memorization protocol, phase Roman 2, no one must know." The Polaroid was of me again, but maybe 6 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, smiling, a bowl of cereal in front of me. But in the background, barely visible through the glass door, was a man standing in the backyard, watching. And it wasn't my dad. It was me. Same scar under the lip. Same eyes. Same everything. Just older. I dropped the photo. "Is this a joke?" I asked, backing away. "Is this?" My mom didn't answer. She was crying now. "I don't know. I swear to God, Jason, I thought I was protecting you all those years, but now I think he wasn't watching you because he loved you. He was watching you because he was afraid of what you'd become." I sank to the floor. My knees gave out. The air felt thick, syrupy. Then I made the worst decision of my life. I picked up an old boombox from the corner, dusted it off, and put in the cassette. The voice on the tape wasn't my dad's. And it wasn't mine. It was female. Robotic. Cold. "Jason Michaels, protocol unlocked. If you are hearing this, subject has been terminated. Phase Roman 2 commences. Code word, Blackbird." I blinked. And for a split second, I wasn't in the basement anymore. I was in a white room. Bright lights. Someone screaming in another language. Blood on my hands. Then it was gone. I ripped the tape out, crushed it under my heel. "Jason, My mom whispered. What did you see? I don't know. She grabbed my shoulders, desperate. You have to tell me, did they do something to you, back then? I looked at her, and I didn't know how to say it, but something had cracked open in my brain, like a trapdoor in my own mind, and part of me liked it. I could see her face, desperate and terrified, but I couldn't feel the same. My stomach twisted, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was something else. A hunger. Jason, she pleaded, shaking me now. Please tell me, did they change you? Are you different? Her words didn't reach me. I was lost in the image of that bright white room. The screams. The blood. The certainty that it was me but not me. The person I was before that moment was gone. Something had been unlocked. I don't know if it was a memory, a switch, or a program, but the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. The way I had always felt the strange pull toward things I couldn't explain. The moments when I'd felt like I knew things before they happened. I knew it wasn't just the trauma. I wasn't just freaking out because of the pictures or the tapes. I was awake. It's hard to explain. But when I looked at my mom, everything felt wrong. Like she wasn't supposed to be here. Like she was part of the same trap I was trying to escape. Mom, I said, my voice low, almost distant. I wasn't sure if I was still speaking to her, or if the words were meant for myself. I remember something. I remember the training. Her face went pale. She dropped her hands from my shoulders. Jason, she whispered. No. I stood up, shaking off her grip. The floor was cold against my feet, but I didn't care. I was flooded with clarity now, like my mind had been rebooted. I remember the rooms, the people, the tests, the hours and hours spent on repetition, the numbers, the codes, the phrases. Her lips trembled. You were just a child, Jason. You couldn't have. I cut her off. I did. I turned to look at the photo again. The one where I was smiling at the table. But in that moment, I didn't recognize the boy in the picture. I wasn't just Jason. I was something else. Something more. Mom, I said again, my voice colder than I intended. They didn't just train me, they bred me for this moment. She gasped and I could see her crumbling. She understood what I was saying. I wasn't a victim. I was the vessel. The man in the photo wasn't my father. He was just another part of the plan. The last piece in a puzzle I was now ready to solve. But there was still one thing I needed to know. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? She didn't answer. I need to find the others, I whispered, before they find me. And then, like I had done 1,000 times before, I walked out the door.